The formation itself, just when you're driving around the island, it's one of the most spectacular pieces of rock protruding from the earth that you can imagine. It's just foreboding, intimidating, awe-inspiring. It's a spectacle.
The rock itself is really amazing. I've never seen a peak quite like it. It just juts out of the jungle in a place so remote that most people don't even know where it is on a map.
It was really moving for me. It's an amazing landscape to be climbing in. It just feels a little bit surreal.
I probably won't climb something like this ever again. It's just terrifying.
Rock!
Whew. All right, I guess it was coming off.
It's a hard route. It would be hard to send at any other crag, let alone in the conditions and the location. And so I think it's going to be a very good challenge. We got a great crew and I'm really excited to see the trip through. I'm Sam Daulton, 25 years old, and I currently live in San Francisco, California.
My name's Tyler, I'm 28, and I've been climbing for about 7 years now. Somehow I found my way to the jungle.
I'm Mike Swartz. I'm 28 years old and I live in Somerville, Massachusetts.
My name's Remy Franklin. I am 28 years old and I've been rock climbing for 10 years. I am a life coach, yoga teacher, and rock climber. Still working on my titles these days, you know?
Nubivagant was first climbed in 2016 by Gaz Leah and a team that included Sergio Almada, Kathy Carlo, and Matthew Parent. They managed to do an ascent of the wall, but didn't free all the pitches.
The climb has only seen a few other attempts, most recently by the Pou brothers just several weeks before we got here. And we came to try to get the first free ascent, and shortly after that became the second free ascent when we realized the Pou brothers had done it just a few weeks before us.
I am not a professional climber. I don't think I'll ever be, climbing at the level or caliber of most of the pro climbers. We're not quite there, and the space we're in, somewhere in between, like a hobby and a profession, is a great space to be in.
The whole trip wouldn't have been possible without local support. We worked with a local ecotourism outfitter in São Tomé that helped us arrange a lot of the logistics of the trip. And then just at a practical level, it would have taken us a full day or two to hike all our gear to the base if we hadn't had these porters to help us.
It says, take the machete or bring the machete or something. Something with a machete.
These guys were super cool. I think a lot of them were about our age. They were so strong, super buff, and I think had seen a number of different climbing parties come out to the cliff. So it was kind of cool to hear their perspective.
É país tão legal em todo mundo. Vem a São Tomé dá bem ao país. Então, precisamente, somos aí agradáveis. Se não for vocês que viu lá, que eu vou acreditar.
It seems sort of like a hidden gem. A lot of people that I've mentioned the trip to, the large majority have never heard of São Tomé before, but it seems like a really special place in the world at a global context. And so I feel really lucky to have gotten to stumble upon it specifically for this climb. This is, the center of a volcano that we're climbing. That's made out of phonolite, and the volcano is made out of basalt, and that eroded away, leaving this amazing tower that we're climbing on.
The climbing itself is largely technical. There are small roofs that you need to pull and a larger one at the top of the fourth pitch. But for the most part, the climbing itself is near vertical. There are a lot of small edges, a lot of side pulls, a lot of balancy and body position oriented moves, with the exception of some small boulder problems at the cross pitches.
Let's go, Remy. Come on. Come on, Sam. Come on, dude. Go to the pocket. Come on, Sam. I'm with you. Come on.
Sam and Remy both impress me every day. They're so stoked to try hard and do stuff that's just a suffer fest and continue to succeed on these really, really challenging conditions.
Sam and Remy push each other in a really great way. They have very different climbing backgrounds. Sam comes from an indoor competition background, and Remy has climbed outside much more than inside and has a lot more multi-pitch experience, and it's a very competent and experienced trad climber. They are also just two of the most psyched individuals I've ever climbed with.
Yeah, buddy. Woo! All right. One pitch down.
When I think of a climbing partner, what I want is somebody who I can deeply trust, and I totally trust Remy. There's nobody that I would rather have on the sharp end of the rope when we're leading hard pitches, and I have complete faith in Remy.
To have someone else there who's saying, let's do this thing that I'm not sure I'm able to do, really adds the meaning to climbing. It's why I show up for the sport, and Sam's been doing that the last couple years, pushing me to get on harder routes, try harder things, and it's been really satisfying. It's been really fun to climb with him.
Climb time. Do it. Yeah. Let's go. Bust out this pitch.
Climbing is sort of a microcosm for the rest of life. You get these amazing opportunities to practice putting yourself up against something else, which is the world out there, and in this case a rock, and seeing how you react, and learning to push yourself and really pursue an objective while also trying to kind of release your attachment to the things you can't control. As much as I try, the outcome of the climb, whether I send the route or not, whether the trip is successful, is completely out of my control in a lot of cases. All I can do is show up, be my best self, try as hard as I can, and perform in a way that feels really good to me, and then react and go along for the ride.
Pico Cão Grande definitely tested my risk tolerance threshold. I think one of the most challenging parts of assessing risk and using prudent judgment is that the climbing and other outdoor extreme sport culture heavily rewards risk-taking. The fact is, I too find it incredibly rewarding to take risks, to climb towers, to get that adrenaline. And it's interesting to think about taking these tremendous risks as an amateur, not a professional. And it certainly creates a lot of internal conflict as to how to best address it.
Over the past couple years, I've noticed that my tolerance for risk has really gone down. It used to be that I would be scared, and then I would reflect on the climb and think that I was really glad I had done it, and really enjoy pushing myself through that fear. And climbing this route, I'm not sure that's true anymore.
Whenever you have exposure on a big wall, it's kind of this crazy cocktail of fear and wonder, where you're terrified of being up so high, but the beauty of it all kind of tempers that fear, and it suppresses it in a way that just makes you gasp and appreciate all of its glory.
I don't mean to trivialize the real risk of serious injury or death in climbing, but a large rock could come off and hit me and cut my rope, and there's nothing I could do about that in many situations. I guess I just choose not to think about it. If it's out of my control, it's out of my control, and I go about doing what I love.
Woo! Woo-hoo! Thanks, man. Psyched. Woo-hoo! Hardest pitch done. After you pull the roof at the top of 4, the rest of the route is pretty much these volcanic blocks stacked on each other. Some are very intact, some jiggle, some completely move. And the result is that a lot of the time you're finding hand jams or finding slots between rocks. And it just makes for exciting climbing. You're constantly tapping on holds to see which ones budge and which ones don't. After pitch 14, the real rock climbing ends and you mantle a muddy ledge and enter the wet rainforest above you. You're slinging trees, you're trudging through jungle muck, climbing up loose boulders, and eventually the plain flattens out and you enter a grassy, padded down area in the middle of the summit. We were lucky enough to have a clearing of the clouds. You could see through the grass, you could see the green hills beyond. You could see the clouds and the precipitation moving around. You could see in all directions white of the clouds, and it was truly remarkable to stand upon that plug. Man. Dude! Woo! Oh, finally. There's the summit, Pico Cão Grande. Psyched. Yeah.
I climb to practice showing up in the world in a way that feels the most meaningful to me. And I think every time we get on the rock, we have the opportunity to see how we react to the world around us and learn and grow in that process. And climbing is just such an amazing way to practice that.
Coming into this expedition, I knew it was going to be a big challenge. We were going to a remote island off the coast of Africa, near the equator, in the summer, and we were going to try to climb 3 hard 513 pitches in a rainforest. It sounded improbable. All my friends laughed at me like, oh yeah, good luck climbing that thing in a rainforest. But we came here, we were psyched, we trained really hard, we prepared extensively, and we achieved our goal. With that in mind, it makes me psyched for whatever comes next.
We all in some way organize our lives around this sport and this pursuit, and I just feel so lucky to be part of that. And I think when I look back in 5, 10, 40 years, I'll just think about how amazing it has been to be friends with these guys and be able to go out and push our limits and pursue this passion as a crew.
It's not about being first. And while we didn't make the first free ascent, bringing together some of my best friends, throwing ourselves at a possibly unattainable goal and then succeeding is really the best outcome that I could ask for from this trip, and that's why I'll be climbing forever.